You want to start a Tiny Tarot? Hey, hey.
Do it. It's going. Hey, we're rolling. We've got numbers going and all of that. So
Tiny Tarot. Hey, hey. What have you got to say today? I am Low Key Magical with a K, and I am here with Podmaster Earl.
Hi.
I love that
How are y'all
title.
doing?
Podmaster Earl. And this is
Podmaster
episode
Earl.
3. Episode 3 of the Tiny Tarot podcast. And wow, we were talking deep a few minutes ago. Once again, thinking I was going to come in with a holiday themed, how to put together a nice bouquet. Tiny Tarot never goes light like that. Tiny Tarot likes to go, really? Let's talk about some
Tiny
real
Tarot just
stuff.
lives in a different space.
And now some of this is sort of, you and I were talking about this before. Because my ego sets up these voices that will come up in the back of my head, and I will imagine someone listening to this podcast, and then I imagine them saying, what gives this woman a right to say that she's intuitive and to read these cards? Like, why do you have the right? And I realize that's not really happening, first of all. That's one of those battles that I talked about that we make up in our head. But then I also realized that I do kind of have a story about it. I came into meditation about 20-something years ago. It was a long time ago, as a way to help alleviate pain due to a chronic autoimmune disorder that I was suffering with, and realized that I was able to go deeply into meditation, and took that practice from there and realized that I had connected with a deeper part of myself, like the universal Jeeves that we discussed, wherein if I honed the question and really was ready to receive an answer, that I would receive an answer. Now the next thought would be, wow, so the story, because we like to truncate our stories, it would be, and then my entire life changed. And no, it wasn't like that at all. It seemed like the more enlightened I became, the more jacked up my life got. And I think this happens to a lot of people that realize that they have intuition or other abilities coming online where they can't be lied to anymore, or they suddenly understand with much more clarity when they're making decisions A or B. They really start to understand what decision is better for themselves, and it disrupts their life because the people around them are not used to them making decisions for themselves. We all understand that. We've talked about that. Sometimes enlightenment can really mess things up in your life. It doesn't necessarily follow the story of the guru that says, and then one day I woke up and I had a message for the world and my whole life was different. It doesn't work that way at all. So we want to talk openly and honestly about things that we're experiencing on this show with things coming online, new abilities that we didn't realize we had, and not be ashamed of those, and not feel like that we're being caricatured like we see so much of the girl going, oh my God, I love crystals and I'm so spiritual, you guys. I'm going to cleanse my chakras. I mean, that exists too. And I'm not in any way making fun of that, but there are those of us that are getting up and making breakfast for our kids and going to work and living a very normal life, while this other foot is in the spiritual realm. That's where the name Low Key Magical comes from. Like, we've been keeping it on the down low all this time, and it's okay. It's okay now to start coming out and saying, hey, you know what? There's parts of myself that I'm beginning to access that, one, I don't really understand what's happening, and two, if these things are going to be considered abilities, this was my question when it started happening to me. How can I use them to make my life better? I don't want any of this to be a detriment to me, where I become so out there to the people around me that I can no longer function in society. I don't want that. I want to be able to connect with this, understand what my abilities are, work with them, and then move out into the world and make that work. And that's where we're coming with Tiny Tarot, is because I just recently did a Tiny Tarot daily read that was the Hermit and then the Three of Pentacles. And the message was, we spend time in Hermit mode to foster that light, that internal light, that part of ourselves that, I mean, it's great when we get outside nurturing, but there's a part that can only be nurtured by us and by that introspection and by that meditation time. But then we don't live in hermit mode. We move back out into the world and back into circulation. And that Three of Pentacles is all about collaboration and not taking yourself too seriously. The 3 is one of those magical numbers that builds on itself, 369. So when we move out into the world and we now begin to act as if with this ability that we've nurtured within ourselves, now it's moving into the world and folding back in and nurturing us as well. So it becomes that same figure 8 infinity. Does that make sense, Earl?
It does.
Man,
It does.
I just like blah, blah, here we go,
No,
hermit mode.
I
But
was I was thinking, I was seeing in my mind's eye how much of a superpower that is that I'm seeing unfolding in so many people. So think about this, where things like NPD, narcissistic personality disorders, and just these odd like abuse, fear-based behaviors and things that before the standard was you just had to deal with that. If you
Yes.
worked with somebody, if you
Didn't discuss
like
it.
women that were married to people that they just didn't discuss it. You suffered with it. It was just like a social thing that you just dealt with.
Or you just heavily
But
judge that person.
To have the ability to not allow that, because it's so common now for people to be rude and unkind, for the ability to be kind in a world that's not, and to be able to not be lied to. I'm onto your bullshit.
Yeah,
I get it.
I'm onto your bullshit.
You're lying like you're holding on to something that is life threatening.
Yes.
If you don't maintain this deception, your life will end. It's just with that sort of energy, and so many people are immune to that now. That's not a strategy that's going to work. People are going to have to be straight up and just like, hey, here's the deal.
Yes.
Yes. let's try that tact instead.
Absolutely.
That is an incredible superpower.
It is an incredible superpower.
This reality is about connection and about collaborating and about how there are these positive upward kind of, I don't know, ladder rungs that people can climb. And you can go down as well. I mean, it can have negative aspects as well.
Absolutely.
You can develop
it is
superpowers
your choice.
on the negative side. There are people that are superhuman in their ability to manipulate and tear down and destroy, all in the name of construction. So,
Right. And they
positivity.
don't have those things that we had instilled on us, like self-imposed guilt and
But everybody's
and the
bullshit
need
meter's been timed. It's been retimed. It's
Right.
been repaired and retimed.
It's been repaired and
not
retimed.
everybody, but a lot of people.
quite a few of us,
Their
yes.
BS meter is now functional, and
Right.
it's a little more sensitive than it used to be. It's like, all right.
And again, imagine reality. These are all metaphors, but imagine reality is flowing and water is flowing and energy is flowing, and suddenly that water flow gets diverged. And when that happens, I grew up on a farm, so I saw stuff like this happen. There'd be a river that ran all the time, or a creek that ran all the time, and then one summer it would get dry, and these ponds would develop. They wouldn't be stagnant right away. These ponds would develop, and these ponds were fun to go play in because there was lots of life in them. Some fish were in there, and then as it continued to dry out, that pond would get stagnant. And weird things would start to grow in there. Sometimes you could go collect water from it and look under the microscope and see what was happening, and it was always just, it would get greener and weirder. And so that was the metaphor that I got when I thought about how could why is our society getting so weird when we ask those big, broad questions like that? And the vision of that same little stagnant thing came into my head. It's not that it's an awful thing. It's just when you have a river of energy that's been diverted for a while, it becomes, what is that? A finite amount of energy is now available for the remaining, or at least it seems that way. And they get a little predatory on each other. And we get that whole survival of the fittest idea that comes from that. And then we have some, what have we realized? Some parasitic relationships that develop. I'm just going to suck the life out of you because I don't think there's enough life around here. And now we're coming to a time where that river, that beautiful flow of water energy has come back. But we're still acting like there's not enough for everyone. The flow has been diverted back to us. That's what I'm saying. That's why part of what our everything's coming back online. The energy's flowing to us again, but we're still kind of acting like we were saying, monkeys that are throwing poop at each other. And it's like, hey guys, it's not. And how is that reflected? How is that the river is flown, you know, how is that reflected? We're understanding there's way more dimensions than what we live in. There are way more ways to look at the world than one religion or one belief system. There's way more ways to travel in space. We're just opening up our minds to so many things. Of course, advancements in consciousness are going to come along with that. We just don't know what that looks like. We know what advancements in technology look like, and space travel, and all of those cool things. We have no idea what advancements in consciousness are going to look like. Guess what, guys? It looks like us. It looks like those of us that can't be lied to anymore. It looks like those of us that are trying to expand our mind and come into contact with other forms of consciousness that are out there, probably looking for us to wake up and say, hey guys, guess what? You're not alone. The river's flown back. You don't have to eat each other anymore. This is a really cool cooperative space if you can wake up. So that's where I think Tiny Tarot might take us today, is how do we embrace that? How do we go from the hermit mode that we've been in collectively to collaborative mode, right?
Right.
Where now we're working together. We don't need to be in competition anymore. We don't need to be fearful anymore. We don't need to be prey.
My seatbelt's fastened.
Yeah, woohoo! So what does that look
trip.
like? Tiny Tarot's gonna say, well, here's where you go. All right, I've got 3 stacks here, Earl, and intuitively, I feel like that's a pretty well-honed question.
Yeah.
How do we take what we're learning and apply it in every day? Because that's where our life is.
Right.
Out in front of us. We can talk mystical, and whoo, this would be great. We still got to get up tomorrow.
How do we fine-tune the focus into what
How
we're
do we
looking at
fine-tune the focus
right
into
now?
the real?
Yeah.
How do we bring what we know is out there and not really real right now and bring it into the real? Earl, why don't you pick stack 1, 2, or 3? Picking stack 1 today. Tiny Tarot,
like
hey.
From the Addams Family.
Tiny Tarot's like, really? Why don't you give me an easy question? Oh, all right. Well, you know what? This almost makes me tear up a little bit. Hold on. The 10 of Wands is like, you know that it's not quite straw that broke the camel's back, but it's right when you get to the straw that's about to break the camel's back and someone goes, hey, let me take those straws for you. Do. And you go, oh, man, that's been a lot of work. The 10 of Wands is the end of a cycle of really hard work. And the reason I'm tearing up is because it feels like relief, guys. It feels like regardless of where this is going, it's going in a direction of, hey, let me help you out. Something or someone is going to be there to say, the hard part's over. And whew, especially on the topic that we're on, to think that the hard part's over is very, very nice. That is a wonderful card to start with. Like, you're just about at the end, kids. This game has been weird. The game of Monopoly has gotten super weird, and it seems like there's just a few people that own all the property, and you are way in the hole. But things are going to get better. And then, you know, what is your thought about things getting better on this topic? Like, Earl, if you had to say, if someone said, hey, I know things are weird, but the hard work is coming to an end. What is, just like we were talking about, what is it to feel whole and healthy? What is it not to be scared of things? What is it not to feel like you have to constantly be? That's a new feeling.
Well, it is, and it's a feeling that I've been having. It's interesting, and a lot of other people have been having.
Despite people around you saying you should be feeling terrible right now.
There was this fear of something gathering out there, and that's been embraced. That's been embraced as a possibility.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I'm focusing on, I'm just having dreams, visions, whatever, of manifesting my own dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'll be darned. I'm just taking a few minimum steps to try to do that. But I see a lot of people doing that. I see a lot of people that have like, oh, well, you know, okay, so I'm going to focus on my own world and manifesting things into my own journey, and stop worrying about, it's just like a huge thing that's been lifted from a lot of people that I run into. Just a sentiment that it's like a general energy that I keep
like
bumping into.
General energy. And this is an individual that's holding 10 wands, and the wands represent the work that we do in the world. And his back is bent and his head is down, but he is on the way to lay these wands down. This is the end of this cycle of work for him. And at the end of this, he gets to celebrate the fruits of this labor. So for us to be on this topic and to immediately get this card, it does feel like it lifts kind of that, like that hard work. What does that represent? What does that actually mean? And we're going to go into the next card to say, please clarify. And it's an Ace of Cups, which is just overflowing love. This is an offer of love that the literal, if we look at that, the cup represents our emotions. So this is how we really feel about things. This is the deepest, it's love. Just straight up, absolutely, it's love. And the Ace of Cups is the offer from the universe that starts an entire cycle. It's an ace, so it's the beginning. And the hand is that, do you see the hand coming from the cloud? That's the part where I have to go, and then a miracle happens, why not? Because it does seem to kind of come out of nowhere. Like, you really aren't expecting this one. But it's positive. It's overwhelmingly positive. It is love-based, and it's more than you expected it to be. So again, this new cycle that we're in, as much as we expect it to be one giant moment, because I kind of want that. There's a part of me that wants and then the sun just like lit up, and then spaceships came down and angelic beings came out, and we're going to call that awesome spaceship day from now on. And I was one that was there, and then they looked me right in the eye and they were like, Chrissy, you were right about everything. And I was all, I knew it. Like, I don't think things are going to go down like that. But I do think, especially with all this metaphor that we were just talking about, water and stagnation, that Ace of Cups is overflowing with water. Look at the look at the symbolism in this. The cloud, the hand comes from the cloud. There's a cup, and it absolutely overflows with water into this pond. And that is freshness. That is newness. That's like an overflowing influx of exactly what you have been thirsty for. So that naturally implies the type of burdensome work that you have felt you have had to do. How many of us for how many years have been, I am doing work on myself. I am trying to remove my blockages to love. I am trying to remove my blockages to abundance. I'm trying to, okay, so this is a great story. I was overweight. This is real. This is a real story that happened to me that I'm injecting into this read. It was near New Year's. I was overweight. I was very depressed, and I was super broke. And this was very real. I just had so many things that weren't going right. And yes, I was meditating often, and I was doing lots of work on myself. And I walked into a very well-known bookstore near the beginning of the year, understanding marketing, like we talked about, Earl, yes. All marketing people know what time of year it is and what you're focused on, all right? And I walked into Barnes & Noble, honest and truly, I was in there to try to find something that was going to keep me from, maybe I'll magically put my hands on a book that'll be how to be all of these things. And as I walked in, there were 3 tables in front of me of books that were being marketed directly to whoever walked in the door, knowing that this is the time of year when everyone's making New Year's resolutions. And I'm not kidding. One whole table was books on how not to be depressed. One whole table was how not to be poor. And then the other one was how not to be fat. It was all weight loss books, financial books, and self-help, psychiatric basically books. And I went, oh my God, I'm a demographic. I am that easy. I'm in so much pain that these little things on these hooks can just be dang. You don't want to be fat? Here, come and spend $25 on how not to be fat. You don't want to be poor? Spend 25 of those dollars you barely have on how not to be poor. Are you sad because you don't have any money and you're fat? Well, then come over here and buy this book on how not to be sad about being poor and fat. And it all folded in at once, and I turned around and left. I couldn't deal with the fact that I had become so easily definable in my pain.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's the 10 of Wands. That's that. I have done so much work on myself. All of these things that we have been putting so much work into all this time, a whole new breath of energy is coming into that. This is where we move into whole. This is where we move into healed. And that we know it's available for us, and that new energy is coming in to support that. And I have to say right away, no, we don't know exactly what that's going to. I do believe there's an energy of this and then a miracle happens. Why not? We can make it very real and down to earth and say, well, everyone will just start feeling more encouraged and less fearful and more cooperative, and that's wonderful. But I do feel like there's a breath of something coming in with this that's unexpected. And like I've said before, I think we're going to learn that we are not as alone as we thought we were, and that we're not as far away from others. How would you define others? I don't know. Other entities, other dimensions, other loving energies, none of this feels malevolent. Am I pronouncing that correctly? None of it feels malevolent, but no. I do want Tiny Tarot to give me another one. And this one, wow. Is all about how we choose to approach this next phase. How do we move into this? Because that's the next thing that we humans do. Absolutely impatient. When will this happen? Is this next Wednesday? Because I would love for all of this new energy and maybe meeting some aliens or other dimensional people to happen next Wednesday. Could you schedule it for then? Because I'm ready. And that's not, again, I don't feel like it's going to be a single moment of who knows, of ships landing. But the next card is about resting the busy mind, giving yourself an opportunity to really move into, it's not just your physical surroundings, what we're creating here and what we're putting down. And this is a big, if you look at the Ace of Cups in the middle of this, we've got the 10 of Swords on the left, which is about the work that we do in the world. And then we have it's 10 of Wands, I did say that. And then we have the 4 of Swords on the right, which is all about internal mind process. So here we have the physical on the left, and here we have the non-physical or the thought realm on the right. And this is about taking that true, honest, mental rest and controlling that incessive thought process about things are wrong and things are wrong and things are wrong. And what I say with this one is, it's not about laying down and saying, okay, I'm going to go rest, you guys, but then you close your eyes and you make your grocery list and you think about your schedule for next week and you kind of just, let your mind spin until eventually you fall asleep. That's not the same. This is deliberate. This is at the end of a battle, and this person is saying, I'm going to take a deliberate rest and I'm just going to calm my mind, and I'm not going to have to, nothing is a threat to me anymore. I can honestly take a breath and not have to imagine battles that might happen, not have to imagine the worst thing in the world happening so that I can be ready. This is honest and legitimate. And that, understanding that we can be in that place and dwell in that place, even though I don't want to use the term speeds up the process of this Ace of Cups arriving, because I don't like to use speeds up, but it brings us closer and closer to that. The more that we as an aggregate consciousness can take that deep breath and go, oh, you know what? It really is going to be okay. Regardless of what I'm seeing come in on my phone, and regardless of what people like to talk about that causes them so much anxiousness, I know that I'm near the end of this cycle of really hard work, and that we as a species, whatever this is that we're coming through, the hard part's just about over. Like that's what this says. And what's on the other side is really going to be good. And if you want to hurry this up, because everybody's always, then calm the hell down. Like
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
part
just
of
let
it.
go of it. Take those
then,
apps off
then
your
let
phone.
go of it.
Yeah.
How will you imagine it feels? This is a really good one. How will you imagine that it's going to feel when that moment happens? I mean, really, if we really can imagine it. If I imagined a day where we picked up our phones and all of a sudden everyone was saying, oh my gosh, did you know that, let's just make something up. Part of the ice cap melted and this huge structure was, we're saying pretend here, but this huge structure was suddenly exposed, and it's all of our species history that we lost when the libraries of Alexandria were burnt and all this, and all of a sudden we now have access, and guess what, it's a way higher technology than we thought. And now, because it happened so big and so open, it can't be hidden by anyone, and we're gonna suddenly learn where we're from, what we really are.
Yeah,
like, how would that
this
feel?
Stone
like
here that says we're not even from here.
Yeah. So, and how exciting would that feel to realize that we're bigger than we thought, that we're older than we thought, that we're more connected than we thought. And then because of that, maybe we get access to some other dimensional beings show up and go, yeah, we've known that all along. We've just been waiting for you guys to find your own. You found your own. Yeah. Found your own path. We're back. Now that you're
waiting
cool.
for you to open that door.
Yeah, now that you realize you're all one being and you can be cool to each other, then the rest of us can show up and be cool with you. So what does that feel like? And that, I think, is where that Four of Swords comes in. Those beings that we imagine don't want to hang out with us until we have our shit together. Which I'm imagining that. I mean, I don't know.
It's the only way it could be.
Because that's what I've said.
It's the only logical, I mean.
When the Four of Swords comes up in a love reading, that's one of those things that I say, you don't want to be a hot mess or you will attract a hot mess. So as a species, we don't want to be a hot mess. I don't think that other dimensional beings really want to hang with us.
Okay, you're driving down the road. It's a highway that you drive frequently, and you see an extra smelly skunk, a skunk that's been rolling around in Limburger, wandering down the road.
I don't really want to.
That skunk wants a ride in a warm car, another mile up the road.
Really
That'd be fun. Are you going to stop and pick that skunk up, no matter how bad the skunk wants it? I don't think so. You got to learn to not be so smelly. You got to be rolling around in the smelly stuff. And
so so these guys have been playing in the stagnant pond, and it's a little stinky. Yeah. And the water's coming and it's washing them clean, but you got to know they're still a little stinky. Yeah. They haven't figured out that they're back in the pool with the rest of us yet. Yeah. That's kind of it. And it said, and I did ask, like, again, this kind of came up in a previous read. How do we do that? Well, this Knight of Pentacles came up, and the Knight of Pentacles is very steady and sure, has a plan. Okay, and works that plan, and the plan is towards what is truly valuable to him. And of course, gender doesn't mean anything, but the Knight of Pentacles, remember, knights are true. Knights have a bigger overarching truth that they march towards, correct?
Yes.
They're in service of.
Yes.
Knights are in service of something bigger.
Yes, and they have to be true to the thing that they're in service of.
And they have to be true to the thing that they are in service of. And in this case, he's holding a pentacle, and that doesn't mean I'm only true to the service of money. This is things that are of earth, yes, but it's those things that make us human. It's our comforts, it's what we value, what we work towards with those wands. Right. Really, everything that we do is to help ourselves feel better. Because we don't really understand what's happening to us, at least I can get myself comfortable. I can have enough food. I can have a warm place to eat. And that drive has kept human beings alive up to this point. It's important. I mean, we don't want to say, oh, it's materialism. Being here and being physical, that's why we're here. Yeah. We're here to experience the material. And the Knight has something, he understands that represents something bigger than him, and it's important to maintain, and he moves steadily towards it. Correct. With a bigger picture in mind. So this is saying, not only understand that the hard work is about over. And that the big influx of love, it's trickling right now, but there's a bigger influx of what we've been wanting and needing and feeling that's moving. The little, okay, so if you have the faucet and you turn the faucet on and it's just barely trickling and you're really thirsty, like that's great. But you don't want to go, it's okay. About to, like, don't put your face in the hose. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So understand, embrace the things that you feel coming online. Don't be afraid of them. That's one of the big things. Don't be afraid of what's coming online. But also don't go running down the street naked. No. You know, nobody can lie to me anymore. Okay, we get it. You know, we all know people that have gotten some stuff happen and then they immediately, I did the same thing. I immediately wanted to run out and write a book. I immediately wanted to just scream on the rooftops like everybody's got it wrong. And that's not the energy. Everyone's going to have their own truth. That's going to be important to realize. We're not going to have like one big overarching, Bill was right. Bill was the only guy that was right about the universe. No, this is going to be a shared experience, but it's going to be unique to everybody. But keeping that overarching, what are we moving towards? We're moving towards an influx of love. We're moving towards a space where we're healed and we can interact with each other, or like we talked about, without that hatred, without that need to make the other one less.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Everyone has to learn to do this.
Without carrying forward these generational abuses that have gone on for ever since there's been humans. We're able to look at each other now and go, wow, this behavior should stop.
Exactly.
This is not how you treat kids.
And people can do this too.
Or this is not how you treat each other.
Too many people are currently doing that.
Yes.
They're quit being a jerk.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, once you realize that.
But the Knight of Pentacles understands that there's something bigger.
Right.
That's moving towards, and that the next card that we came up with is the Devil. This is absolutely beautiful. We talked about this before, that the things that we have been allowing to oppress us are exactly that. Things that we've been allowing to oppress us. That these things that we have at first thought that this is what was best for me. That's what we were taught, that our own internal voice was not to be trusted. That there was something inherently wrong about being a human being. That just because you were born into this construct, you were inherently sinful, and that you had to atone for that. And that there is a force that is bigger than you, that if you allow it to, it will suck you under, and you have to fight against that force all the time. And the way you fight against it is to, by the way, go to church here, believe this, say this, buy this, do this, work here, do this, and everything will be okay. And we are no longer buying that lie. And that's what the Devil here represents, is that you absolutely have power over the things that you have given power over you up to this point. It's like it's been an inversion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like it's been an inversion up to this point. And that's no longer the case. We have power. We have the power in this particular case. The man and woman with the Devil are naked and they are chained, but look at them, they're pretty chill. Like they're really barely there.
They're not screaming and yelling.
They're not screaming and yelling. They've given those things that they don't want to look at about themselves way too much power. And now it's become, these are things that have power over me. And we can invert that and we understand it. And then, yay, we're at the Nine of Pentacles. Wow. And the Nine of Pentacles is about as close to that Garden of Eden vibe as you can possibly get. I mean, from a legitimate standpoint, it is a very beautiful and affluent woman who is standing in a garden that's at the height of its fruit. And she's holding a beautiful bird of paradise. And she is feeling it. I mean, this is that earth mama, abundant. The planet is abundant, and the fruit is abundant, and the flowers are abundant. And when we let go of this, what we have given power to, you want to say, oh, it's taken power from us. when we're saved, we could read it this way. If you really wanted to, you could say, this Ace of Cups says we're going to be saved from the devil. Something's going to come down from heaven. It's going to save us from the devil. But really, because we're putting this Four of Swords and this
us.
Knight of Pentacles,
We're
it's
saving
us.
ourselves from,
When you let go of that has been holding, when you know, it's like holding a big rock and being underwater and saying, hey guys, I'm drowning. And someone says, how about you let go of that rock? And you'll just bob right back up.
Sure.
And we go, oh, really? That's all we had to do? Oh, man, I've been doing all this hard work, Ten of Wands.
Hold on to that rock.
I've been doing all this hard work, Ten of Wands, to buy my way into heaven. And you're telling me that all I have to do is relax, keep the bigger picture in mind, and continue to do those things that we do every day. But do them with that different framework. Not that I'm running from something or I'm afraid of something or I have to atone for something. It's not that at all. Relax. Allow the love that's flowing freely in all the time. Just allow that. Recognize it. Know that that comes with certain feelings and abilities that you didn't have before. As we've talked about in other reads, whole and healthy may look really new to you.
Yes.
You may not have a map for what truly whole and healthy and making good decisions and being cooperative with people and having people be sometimes we don't even know what that looks like until it starts happening. Right? Yeah. Relax into that. Really and truly relax into that, and then go about this is the real world. We're going to do things in the real world with the higher purpose in mind, and we're going to let go of that whole something's oppressing me, something's holding me down, until I clear these blockages, Earl. Until I clear the abundance blockages. Then I will never be. I must dig out the blockages. And at this point, this is saying the blockages are cleared.
Yeah. Just accept.
Accept that we don't have
fixed.
to. You move.
Everything's fine.
Oh, this is hard for the ego.
It's already there.
This is really hard for the ego to hear. But at some point, you move from student to master. Or at least you change from student to student teacher. You know what I mean? At some point you graduate. There is an upward progression, and we have to recognize that within ourselves. Or we're always going to be at that Ten of Wands. And if you wanted to be in the burdensome energy forever, you could be. But it's really nice when you move over to this Nine of Pentacles, when you realize all this work that I've been doing has been growing this garden the whole time. It's like I forgot to turn around and look at it. I have these wonderful abilities. Hey, guess what? I can't be lied to. Oh, this is awesome. You know what? Now I can, in my interactions with people, I can really understand what they're saying when they say something to me. And I can respond to them and not to who they're pretending to be. That's a powerful thing. You know what I mean? That's a really powerful thing. And it's in those small everyday interactions that we really create real change and drop those devils that we've been carrying all this time. Nine of Pentacles is beautiful, you guys. I can't even. Because that feels like, again, I'm getting the big picture spiritual here. It feels like a return to Eden.
Yeah, right.
If you want to go with that story, and with that story, that story is a metaphor where we were our true naked selves, and we were very much more connected to that which created us. And the earth was in full, beautiful form. Like, that's where I can take that. There's been a lot of hard work, and yeah, we've messed some things up to this point. But all of that, we can pull out of all of that. All of that is, how do you say, turnaroundable? All of that is reversible. All of that is reversible and will be. All of that is correctable and will be more so than what you realize.
Right.
It's like turning around and going, oh gosh, this place is way more beautiful than I thought. Oh God, you know what? This garden's been, like, I've been looking at a part of the garden that had gotten really overgrown, and I forgot that all of this over here has been growing on its own beautifully. But I've been really doing hard work on this one spot that I got kind of obsessed with. Whew. I like how the devil showed up again. We've had the devil in more than one read on the Tiny Tarot podcast.
There's 3 in a row, I think.
What are you trying to say? Well, it's really trying to say...
It won't appear on the next read.
Well, maybe so. But this is about letting go of what we're responsible for. It isn't an overarching force that's holding you. It's absolutely an illusion. No. It's like when someone's trying to let go of a really bad habit, like cigarettes or something. the
Yes.
devil comes up, or when they say, I just
Yep.
can't get rid of this one. Yeah, well, you're kind of letting it have power over you. But this is nice, and I really did. This was kind of emotional in this one. The hard work. Guys, you've done the hard work. We've all done the hard work. What is that? Dug out the rotten teeth.
Ow.
And that, yeah, and then
Ouch.
that influx of love at this point may feel like a trickle, but it will become undeniable. And the way that you help that become an undeniable flow is just by calming that thought process that's keeping you in a different headspace than that. And continuing to do these things that we do, coming together like this, having discussions, or even if it's all introspective, if you're in hermit mode right now, that's fine. Working on yourself is cool, but you've got to circulate that back out in the world. And then you receive from what you've given. Don't worry about what other people say. Part of this devil is also, like I was saying, what do I think people are saying about me? Who gives you the right to say that you're intuitive? Sometimes you just know. I gotta let that devil go. It's all right to be a little more magical than just low-key magical. And where does that end us? At the 9 of Pentacles. Just, flourishing. Earth Mama flourishing. That is a wonderful
I'm seeing
feeling.
Bruce Willis breathing a sigh of relief as he's been
like at the end of
pulled
Die
up
Hard.
into the airplane.
Yes.
Just in the nick
Like,
of time. Everything's on fire below them.
Well,
It's
I
like,
hope not everything winds up on fire.
No,
that would be nice. But
No.
but
He's-
hey, this winds up
He's free
positive
of all
again.
things that burdened him. So.
I'm happy that it does wind up positive again. So if you are someone that also has new, abilities coming online, or you're just realizing things are a little bit different, that you're slightly more intuitive than you used to be, that's cool. Embrace that. You are not alone. And it's fun. You can make it fun. You can be low-key magical too. That's all right.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Earl, for another awesome podcast.
You're welcome.
This has been Numero Tres.
Thank you for having me.
Tiny Tarot. Hey, we were happy that you were here today. I am Low-Key Magical with a K. Have a magical rest of your day.